Hi, and welcome to the second hour of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Number to call is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Got a story here, start off the hour from the Washington Times from Ludlow, California. Southern California freeway smelled like a cookout when a big rig carrying 76,000 pounds of beef ribs caught fire. Apparently, the rear wheels of the truck ignited Saturday night on Interstate 40 in Ludlow. By the time firefighters arrived, the truck was unhooked from the trailer, which became engulfed in flames. 76,000 pounds of ribs. The fire chief said the fire emanated, quote, a wonderful barbecue beef rib odor, shut down traffic for 2 hours. Now, you look at the Associated Press. Now, in California, and I checked with Rob, my director, on the break here. In California, this is an accident when a truck and its load gets engulfed in flames. That's an accident. In the South, when you have 76,000 pounds of ribs going up in smoke, that is a tragedy. That's the difference between life in California and life in the South. You heard about Sheriff Joe Arpaio told his inmates, look, I'm going to put an American flag in your cells. You deface this thing. You step on it. You rip on it. You mark it up. You throw it in the trash. You flush it down the toilet. You're going to eat bread and water for a week. And he's made good on his promise. He found 38 inmates defaced the American flag in their cells. And this week, they are on a bread and water diet. Sheriff Joe, may his tribe increase. And Sheriff Joe, every morning, this is the guy that gave him pink underwear and bologna sandwiches and all that. He plays the Star Spangled Banner every morning. That's what they wake up to. And every night they go to sleep to the strains of God Bless America. And Sheriff Joe, by the way, you talk about employing former servicemen. He's got 600 former military members that are a part of his staff, and he's looking to hire even more. One last thing before we go to the phones, 888-589-8840. A lot of you listen to Dan Celia's program because you're concerned about the economy and finances and all that. We all are. Here's an alarming thing to me. This is very alarming because one of the things that Dan has talked about and one of the things we've talked about here is at some point, what you had in the Great Depression is you had a run on the banks. In other words, you got to a point where people were so concerned about the health of the economy, they said, look, I'd better go get my money out of the bank while it's still there before it's gone, or before the bank goes out of business, or before the bank closes down. So it started this run on the banks, and, banks have most of their money is out in loans. I mean, they're only required by law to carry something like 12% of their actual deposits on hand. So you got 100% of the deposits, and banks can loan out 88% of it. It can be out there working and making money for them. They do have to keep 12% around for withdrawals and stuff like that. But I think it's something that may be different now, but it's roughly in that neighborhood. That's what they got to keep is cash on hand. What's happened in the bank in the UK, HSBC is the bank. It's one of the major banks in the UK. And they've instituted a new policy now where you cannot withdraw more than 5,000 pounds, which I don't know what that'd be about $10,000 or $7,500. I don't know what it is, what the exchange rate is, but it's, between 5 and 10,000. You cannot withdraw it from the bank unless you have a note from the person that you're going to give the money to. Now, it's your money. The account has your name on it. They're just holding it for you. Now, they're telling you you can't even get your own money unless you get a note from whoever it is you want to get this money for if it's more than 5,000 pounds. One guy wanted to pay off a loan to his mom. The bank said, no, you can't have the money. You got to go get a note from your mother telling us what the money is for before we'll give it to you. Now, why is that? Why has this major bank in the UK established this policy? Well, it's very clearly a policy that's been put in place to prevent a run on the bank. In other words, that tells you that this bank knows that the economy in the UK is about to collapse. They are afraid that the economy around the world is going to collapse. It's collapsing in Argentina. It's collapsing in Italy. It's collapsing in Spain. It's collapsing in France. It's collapsing in China. And they're afraid, look, if it collapses here, there's going to be a run on the bank, and we got to stop it. So this is their firewall to keep people from cleaning out their accounts. You can only get X number of dollars per day on your own recognizance. I mean, he kept trying to get to a number. They'd give him money. He finally got down to 3,000 pounds and said, yeah, we'll give you that much money today. Well, can I write another check for 3,000 pounds? He said, no, you got to come back tomorrow to do that. So all this is about preventing a run on the bank, which tells you, ladies and gentlemen, serious concern among smart money people that the whole thing is about ready to melt down. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Joe, Victoria, Texas. Joe, thanks for waiting. Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Brian, I was going to talk about the Grammys.
Yes, sir. Right ahead.
You should see the Spanish channels, Estrella. They really, on prime time, they show a lot more and a lot of naked people, but they distort it. And my comment here is the people that are at fault is us Christians. I mean, I turn off my TV. Don't get me wrong. I don't watch TV if I don't have to. I don't need to. I get my stuff from you guys. But the problem is, a lot of born-again Christians are watching TV, and we had a boycott, and you know, it's a TV from hell now. I mean, I remember as a kid, preachers used to preach about it. Now they don't even touch the subject.
Yeah.
I got a brother that's a deacon that loves Cowboys, and last year he stayed home, and I talked to him about it and said, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Yeah, but you're the deacon, man. And my pastor used to talk to me about it when I was a kid, when we didn't show up to church. Now nobody wants to touch the subject. So It's really us born-again Christians that need to shut off the TV and not even watch it, because it's a hell from TV is from hell.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Listen, I appreciate that, and thanks for the call. And we know that TV has an influence. It's not just doesn't reflect society; it shapes it. And people watching that program last night that do not understand what you and I know about what happens to children to grow up in same-sex environments, they think it's wonderful, it's lovey-dovey, it's celebration, everybody's happy, everybody's well-dressed, Madonna's up there, Queen Latifah's up there. It's just a wonderful thing. Isn't this great to see these people doing? Well, if you don't think about the impact on children, then maybe you would be fooled into thinking that that's okay. But that's the danger. TV doesn't just reflect culture, it shapes it. Let's go to Larry, Shreveport, Louisiana. Larry, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, it's always good to hear your show. I listen to it every day. But
thank you very much.
I'm going with the same line that your last caller did. I was telling the young man I spoke to, that I took my television out 8 years ago. And we live in Louisiana and Arkansas, and we travel up north. We're a plug place. We have a television nowhere. And, you know, I'm talking to Christian people. I'm talking to people who believe in Jesus Christ, who believe that Jesus is coming, and believe that we have a job to influence our children and other people, is to throw that television out and don't watch it. Don't turn it on. All you're going to see is filth. And if you let Satan walk across God's property to get to one spot, he will pollute it all.
Well, and you know, it's interesting, you know, you mentioned bringing God into it, because clearly they did that last night. I mean, the song says we all worship the same God. Whatever God you worship or whatever God you believe in, it's the same God. It's all the same God. And he's in favor of all of this. And they had church-type choirs singing in the background. They had stained glass windows in the background. In other words, they were dragging God into what really was an abomination in the eyes of God, but they're dragging God in there and kind of soiling his robe with what was going on there with the Grammys. All right, Larry, listen, I appreciate that. You know, a lot of people doing exactly what Larry's talking about. They're saying, look, you know, and I remember when my kids, this was, you know, let's go back to the late 1990s, there was only one single show on television, network television, that we thought was suitable for our kids to watch. It was Home Improvement. That was a decent show, and we'd watch that as a family. Malcolm in the Middle wasn't too bad, but that was really about it. You get past that, it was a wasteland. Focal Point, AFR Talk.